Hello, my friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family. I hope you guys are doing well with all the snow and rain and wild weather that we're seeing everywhere. And I hope you guys are not too overstuffed from Thanksgiving.
We're not too overstuffed, but we did enjoy our Thanksgiving with family. And, we talked with you guys yesterday, which was really, really wonderful too.
So covering both sides of the family.
Both sides of the family, indeed, yes. Well, yesterday I do love my family. I love my aunties, cousins, and everything, but I don't feel comfortable being me, really. It's there to be nice and feel the warmth and acceptance of family, but you can't really talk about aliens and stuff.
Well, perhaps not in some families. Some families maybe,
In this family, yeah, we can talk about anything. So that was really nice yesterday, but I can be more myself with you guys.
So good to see you guys. We got Craig, we got Joe Free, we got Lincea, we got David Lewis, Sylvain, the Concrete Angel, Nuclear Quantum Lasers, Pew 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 in the house. Love that. Raven, Dr. Raven, good to see you. Awesome. Dr. Enoch Metatron. Great to see everybody. I hope everybody is enjoying their day. I know there's probably a lot of people out there doing the Black Friday thing. Oh, that's not my idea of having fun at all.
No, I've never actually, I can proudly say I've never gone shopping on Black Friday.
Yeah, well, one of the nice things about where we are is that if you're going to do Black Friday shopping, we have to drive 73 miles.
There's a little bit of a deterrent there, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, when it's 73 miles to the nearest, Walmart or any sort of store, really, there is a dollar store, that's nearby. So other than that, though, you got to go 50, 60 miles north to come to a town that's got like maybe 300 people in it and a couple of cute little restaurants, but that's about it, and then you go past that another 20 miles and you run into another very small one. You go west and there's nothing really for a long ways. Probably 70, 80 miles minimum, but it's a much harder travel, 70, 80 miles. And then east, is all the, it's all the government. So there's no going anywhere there either. So it's just where it is. We got Gary's sitting at the mall right now, watching the madness.
Yeah, I know here it's pretty secluded. It's a really good jump off point to learn to be resourceful.
Most definitely. So OffGrid with Cosita, no shopping for you. Where are you guys? I'm just curious, being that you're OffGrid and you must have a channel. I love all that stuff, honestly. I love watching channels that are either RV life, traveling, roaming. I have this like bucket list thought. I'd love to do the Pan American Highway. That would be amazing. Alaska, all the way down to Chile, and Argentina. That would be incredible. It's kind of like a dream. I'd love to do that. And honestly, that's been something that's rolled through my head for the longest time. I've seen people have just the most amazing times of their life and some wild experiences doing that. And so Rico, Colorado, near Telluride. Beautiful. I'm sure you're snow covered over that way as well. And then Colleen, off-grid in the center of Oregon. Boy, there was a wind gust yesterday in Oregon of 106 miles an hour, guys. Much love to you too, Zach, and everybody else in here. Journey by Night, hello.
Yeah, you guys are really awesome. It feels like the vibe is pretty good, considering it is Black Friday and there's a lot of chaos going on. But as usual, you guys have a really nice feeling about you. I always love filling up this chat. It's great.
Nuke Nomad, so you've been RVing for 10 months and you're loving it. What do you have a travel trailer, a fifth wheel? Are you doing it in a van? Honestly, when we came across country, it was interesting, but we just basically had a couple of tents that we were living in for a while, and we enjoyed it. I'm seriously, well, I started, now that I took a peek at some RVs, some travel trailers, because you could get a really good bargain on a used travel trailer. Um, now all the ads, everything I pull up is all RVs. It's like the AI algorithm that's out there, like on Facebook, it started to post RV stuff. When I didn't look at anything RV on Facebook, I was using DuckDuckGo, which is supposed to be a privacy browser, and still somehow everybody knows that I was looking at travel trailers.
Yeah, it's like being stalked by AI. It's creepy.
Yeah, Cobalt Blue says I sound like I'm feeling better today. I've been feeling good. Today I feel really strong. Honestly, we've been working out like beasts, and so I feel like I'm starting to get back into my usual type of shape. And for Cindy, like one of the things you noticed is that everything in life is a little bit easier when you're in shape. Remember how you were saying just even taking out the trash is like no big deal. So it feels good when your body feels good.
Well, yeah, when you start putting on the muscle, everything gets lighter. And I think it has to do with your vibration going up and our bodies are lighter.
Yeah, most definitely. And I haven't looked at Craigslist. I will peek at Craigslist, and there's some places in Vegas. Vegas would be the closest for us to shoot to look at stuff. I'm hesitant because obviously, everything going on with the censorship, it makes it so that, you're a little bit cautious about putting out any sort of money. But I have seen people like one of my friends, I don't know if Mark's on now, but he's loving life. And if you guys remember Mark Mucci, he's one of our mods here. And he's really transitioned in life from living in an apartment to now, he bought an RV, an older RV. He's worked on it, and he's loving life. He really is. So many people that do this, they love it. They really do love it. And I was telling Cindy too, with like the way we love to work out now, we're just turning into, it's like an addiction, but it's a good addiction. But there's places like Planet Fitness that only cost $10 a month for a gym membership. And then you could just, if you're on the road, you just stop in the area, you hit the gym so you don't go insane. And I am going to do some videos on using some cables, because I have like six sets of cables that you could actually get a pretty good workout out of. And you could use them anywhere. And I've done it even just wrapping them around a tree branch and using cables.
Yeah, that's what we started out with, is just the cables, and we were able to hit every part of the body with the cables. So, if we are going to be on the road, we have the cables, and then there's Planet Fitness. So it'll work. It'll work out.
It will. And, we plan on coming back here on a regular basis too, as well as stopping in other areas, because we have friends, you guys, we have friends everywhere around the country. And so, it'll be fun to do some exploring once the weather breaks a little bit, which again, that's probably about, I'm thinking maybe in 3 months, maybe we head somewhere even warmer than here. But there's so much going on. And as usual, lots of earth change stuff to talk about. And OffGrid is saying you can live in different RV parks, monthly, weekly rates. Yeah, and boondocking. You could boondock, and if you get yourself set up with a battery bank and some solar panels, you there's quite a bit you could do. Yeah, many RV, in the West, there's tons of BLM, Bureau of Land Management. So there's a million places to just park. And we definitely will, Kim. Thank you. I'd love to. I'd love to show Cindy Maine, because I've been to Maine many times, and just gorgeous. Rockport and Tennant's Harbor, used to go there when I was like a teen. It was really pretty. The water's always cold, always cold, but absolutely gorgeous area.
Yeah, I know somebody said in here that some people just chase 70-degree weather all around the country. That sounds kind of fun.
Yeah, yeah, that's not a bad idea to me as well. Sarah Noya in the house, and she says, "Hiya, karate style." Interesting that you say that, because they're the push to take away so much of our ability to do things is really it's going to a totally different degree right now, and we're going to cover a story that's going to probably blow some people's minds as far as just how bad it's getting.
Yeah, I know. When I was reading that they were going to start to outlaw that was crazy. It's like, you know what? Just start outlawing butter knives. Just get it over with. It's gonna come.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. As we know, there's another big event over in the UK today. I hate covering those type of things. For one, they happen, and we're talking about that attack that happened in the UK. Planetary Protector, good to see you. Yeah, you could work out with bungee cords. You really could, Sarah. And I definitely am going to do some videos with Cindy's help if she'll let me film her too. I think she will.
I think I will.
All right, cool. Because our health is so important, and there are so many attacks on us going on in so many ways, energetically, with the food, with exposure to all sorts of EMF and frequencies. Dave Lewis sent me a link to a video that was super curious. It was about some strange events happening off the coast of Italy where there were these spontaneous fires just happening, and they couldn't figure out what it was. Literally outlets bursting on fire, and people actually getting burns themselves. There was sightings of UFOs, and there happened to be a lot of U.S. Navy activity over there as well. So perhaps there was some interesting new weapons technology that was being tested, and Raven just said it all there. Two of our jet streams, have stopped. Things are really changing. Hello, Sherry. We are the SHTF survivors. And much love to you, Thomas. And I saw Sylvain asked about like exercises for men over 60 or at 60 or 50s, back before I started the channel, I had this thought I was really going to dedicate a channel to being naturally fit completely, holistically, over 50. Yeah, that was my whole thing. Because so many people, there's so many baby boomers, and we covered a story talking about how there's going to be an incredible housing glut because the baby boomers are getting into that age group where a lot of them are going to go live in with family, move to retirement communities, things like that. There's going to be so many houses on the market. And, the birth rates, and we're going to talk about that, new stats coming out with the birth rates too, are going down, 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 down. And so everything is changing. And, people have said this too, that we're going to actually need the robotics. We're going to need the automation because there's just not going to be enough people to actually do the actual jobs that there used to be because everything is changing so much.
I kind of sort of sensed that a long time ago when I would go to the grocery store and they were just putting in a new thing at the checkout stand that read your card. And it seemed like at the time, it was a much bigger pain in the ass than it was worth. But now I can see how that has grown and grown and evolved and evolved. And pretty soon, we are going to have fully automated AI everything, except hopefully maybe they won't want to wipe our butt. This is terrible. I mean, the AI does everything.
Yeah, we're only just getting started with this, and we have stuff about that we're going to talk about too. But jumping over to the Watchers, we see atmospheric river now heading for California following the quote-unquote bombogenesis, the bomb cyclone event. And so, we're setting up for major inundation on the West Coast. And it's weird because, we still have drizzle here, and we could see all of our mountains around us, they're all snow covered, which I've never seen here before. And Cindy says it doesn't really happen much.
No, this has never happened. I've been here off and on since I was 16, and this is the first time I've seen it snow on Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically in like 30-year period, this is the first time that she's seen this. Pretty interesting. And then when I was looking at the weather forecast, we have like another 4 or 5 chances in the next 10 days for more moisture. And this is setting up to be a major event potentially. And, we talked about the desert blooming, and weather patterns change. And as we get deeper into this grand solar minimum, there's just so much. It's so fascinating and fun to see the mainstream slowly waking up to everything that's going on. Slowly, they are waking up. But you know what? They are waking up. People are just saying, this is weird. This never happened before. What's going on? People are starting to really notice now that things are not status quo. And of course, the weather's always changeable, but it's different now. We are in different times.
I'm curious to see what happens. I'm watching, like last year here, we had 4 mini snowstorms, which I'd never seen before. And this year, the snowstorm wasn't that it was so unusual. The unusual part is I've never seen it before Christmas.
I love Raven's comment there. First time I've ever seen a hurricane hit Oregon and Washington. That's, basically what we really had, 106 mile an hour winds. And, obviously it was a major storm. And as we see here, there's going to be more rounds of heavy rain and snow to California beginning on November 30th and December 1st. According to AccuWeather, 3 to 6 inches of rain can fall over the lower elevations of Northern California, and a maximum of 10 inches can fall on the southwest-facing slopes. Can we say mudslides, landslides? Things are going to get saturated. And, of course, we had the fires, which burn everything and, leave the ground more susceptible to this. And constantly have these fires. We have that every single year. And if they get more intense, followed by way more moisture, things are going to be very dangerous. It's what we're really looking at here. And so you're seeing the atmospheric river coming right here, and you can see the heaviest rainfall, and then rounds of rains, and then heavy snowfall through the Sierra Nevada. Obviously, flooding and mudslides. That's going to be a big issue. Lots of travel disruptions, and you get one of the roads closed in one of these areas, and often it could cost you forever to get around and find a way to make it through. So this is really going to be something for us to watch. Lots of new patterns coming in. So we're not in an El Nino and we're not in a La Nina. And so we're in basically like a neutral situation right now. So in general, the West and the South should be a little bit typically warmer. And the Midwest, especially the upper Midwest, into the Northeast is typically going to be colder. These things change. Like we talked also about how Alaska is getting warmer and warmer and warmer. And, setting records up there. So informally called Pineapple Express. You guys probably have heard that. Again, the atmospheric river is going to be running. And so as we see here out of Yahoo News talking about the fire hose effect. That's kind of like what it is. It's a giant atmospheric fire hose that's just going to be pouring in to the West Coast over here. And so how much, we're curious as to how much is going to, end up hitting us, over into Nevada as well. So we will watch out for that. Meanwhile, we have San Fran. San Fran breaks cold record as the Bay Area freezes. And, everything is just hitting record after record after record. It's kind of fun in a way, as long as it doesn't take lives for some of us anyway. People that like that thrill ride of a good storm.
I know, maybe this is a little twisted of me, but I'm always thinking, wouldn't it be fun to like lose power for a little bit? But I don't want anybody to get hurt, but I do want some kind of bump for some sort of entertainment around here.
Well, I didn't mind it so much like when I was in the North Carolina mountains because we had a great wood burning stove. And when I had the wood burning, it was tropical. It was like 85 degrees, and it was basically 1,000 square foot cabin that we rented. And it was not a huge wood burning stove, but it's amazing how efficient they can be. And it was kind of beautiful to be snowed in. Hey, there's nothing but candles on, and the stove going. Kind of peaceful, and there was so much. I do miss the wildlife there. I mean, we had like 10 different animals up on the porch every night, so I do miss that type of wildlife. And our friend Kimberly over in, I should have sent the photos for you guys to see. I'll do it for the next one. She's up in Shasta, and she was showing us tracks that she found after the snowfall there. A big bear, big cats, you name it. There is so much wildlife up that way.
Yes, huge wildlife. And I know that was really nice up at the cabin. That was beautiful. The little bit of time I did get to spend up there was it was magical. It was beautiful. And I know we'll get there. We'll get there again.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous. So, let's see here. We see hundreds of Thanksgiving snowfall records smashed all across the U.S. And you've never seen a Thanksgiving like that before, reads the opening line of the Albuquerque Journal. The Albuquerque area smashed its previous Thanksgiving snowfall record of 1.5 inches back in 1934. That was the solar minimums of cycle 16, when a comparatively mammoth 3.9 inches accumulated by midday at the airport there. So snowiest Thanksgiving in history over there. There's all sorts of records falling, and here we see Albuquerque. And I have spent time in Albuquerque, enjoy the area, absolutely love Santa Fe. Utah, you have records going there as well. 13 inches compared to 4.5 inches. That was the old record. 20 inches in Clarkston, for example. Yeah, it's just, the records are being just crushed. And now we're just starting to get going. And Dave from Adapt 2030 was in the chat the other day, and he's such a wealth of knowledge on all this, and takes it very seriously because it is very serious. And what we're facing, most people just, I don't think, have an idea just how intense this is going to get. As you see the snow covering the Joshua trees in the high desert, it's kind of beautiful. The snow does make the desert look gorgeous. And then Alaska, they actually had their warmest Thanksgiving in over a decade. This is exactly grand solar minimum stuff. This is exactly what happens, because we see this gets warm over here. And then over here gets exceedingly cold. We see the differences. So this stretch, brutal in a grand solar minimum. Absolutely brutal. And that extends on down into Virginia, West Virginia, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Indiana, Michigan, Wisconsin, obviously Dakotas. And it's going to be absolutely brutal the deeper we get into this. Yet, if you're in Anchorage, it's getting kind of nice out here.
Right? Completely. Yeah, I know. It's like turnabout, fair play.
And your cousin just got back from Alaskan venture with a grizzly bear running across her path. And I didn't include it in yesterday's. I was debating including this news story of this guy. I believe it was in Washington, or maybe it was Idaho, where he was on the second floor, staying in a hotel with his dog and his wife. And, he was going to let the dog out. And so he just basically opened up the hotel room door, walked out on the balcony, took a few steps, and there was a bear right in front of him, standing right in front of him. And then the dog barked, and then the bear started booking towards him full throttle. And luckily, he had a 45 on him, so he just started to unload the 45. He unloaded the whole clip in the 45 which is, 45 for a handgun, that's pretty powerful. It's about as powerful as you get, unless you're talking about something like a Taurus Judge. The whole clip, the bear just ended up turning around, running off, and profusely bleeding, but they didn't find the bear, so that didn't stop it. And so your cousin was on the trail, and she usually has
a bear. It's a bear bell, and she brings it with her everywhere. She has this huge phobia. She's really afraid of bears, and it's just unheard of that she would not have her bear bell, except for this one time in Alaska, and they actually run into a flippin' grizzly bear.
Yeah, so they were banging rocks together to kind of warn it that they were coming through the area, because it did see them. They saw it. It turned around and started to go, unfortunately, along the path, the direction they were supposed to go. So they kind of had to follow the bear. They really had no choice, because it was the only way they were going to get out of there. So, it's one of those things to be aware of if you're out there. It could be dangerous out in the woods if you don't know what you're doing. Real woods too. I mean, real woods. Places like Alaska and definitely up in the Pacific Northwest and Montana and Wyoming, you have so much, just vast openness up there with so many animals. So, you really do need to be prepared and give them their respect for sure. We had bear around us in North Carolina as well. And once I came out on the deck, and the deck was like 3 or 4 feet off the ground, and I believe it was a wild hog. I couldn't make it out completely, but I startled it. I knew there was something over there, so I ran to the edge of the deck real quick to see what it was, and something went booking so fast down the brush and right over the side of the hill. I just got a glimpse of it. It was either a bear or it was a wild hog, but it felt more like a wild hog to me. And we have a lot of those down in the south.
Yeah, I know. And with my cousin, it's so funny because she's never had an encounter with a bear, so she never had any reason to really be so concerned. But she was. Maybe it was a past life thing. Maybe she was killed by a grizzly because she just had that phobia. And she always carried this stuff, except for this one time in Alaska where she really, really needed it. It's a great story.
So, here we see how the National Science Foundation, right? Why are big storms bringing so much more rain? Yes, this is what I'm talking about with, like, the mainstream's finally, like, starting to get it a little bit. Big storms are consistently bringing much more rain now. This is what the studies are showing. And so, this study is an important step in understanding the rainfall rate piece of the problem. The picture is one in which changes in rainfall extremes should be carefully examined in assessing flood hazards. And so, they're recognizing that the climate is changing. And, of course, they're basically saying it's from rising sea surface temperatures. But there's other things as well in this, as we know with this grand solar minimum, cloud nucleation. One of the things that people don't realize is that there's more water under the ground than in the oceans. It's thought that there's twice the amount of water under the ground, in the ground, than on top in the oceans. Is there some sort of mechanism in which that water gets pulled and released more to the surface? Because if it was all released, then we might, only have some mountain peaks to be sitting on here. Very interesting stuff, really, when you look at it. But, they did find that also the storms are getting stronger. Their strength is increasing. There's no doubt about it. And so mainstream is catching on with that. And there's way more water being released. So, yay. They're finally getting, some of them are getting their heads out of the sand and at least talking about it. And then here we see a former IPCC scientist attacking the new climate change report, as more scientists now are just coming out and just claiming bunk on a lot of things. And it's true. So people are voicing themselves a little bit more, voicing their opinions. That's what we got to do. We really have to become more vocal on this. We got to wake many people up, as many as possible, to everything that's going on. And we're going to have to wake up some key people too, like some scientists that will say, hey, this is all BS. There's different mechanisms going on. It's not about taxing us for carbon emissions and things like that. So like this statement here, Earth's climate was cooling from 35 to 77 when CO2 was rising very rapidly, and nobody talks about it. The Earth's climate warmed from 77 to 98 along with the CO2 increase, but in the last 20 years, according to most climate scientists, there has not been any statistically significant warming of the Earth's climate. But what we do have is increased variability and intensity. So the change that we get, the extremes that we get, is the thing. It's getting very, very extreme. And alarmists propose rebranding climate change for greater shock value. And the kids are taking to the streets, as we know. There's been a lot of protests about this, and they're starting to demand that the government act. And they're using different terms like global meltdown, climate collapse. Climate collapse might be a good way to word this, don't you think?
I think so, yeah. It's always nice to kind of juggle around your vocabulary words to see what's going to fit better where.
So Dr. Enoch Metatron says, during the floods of Noah Gilgamesh, it says that besides the rain, the waters opened up from the depths, and it was very hot too. So interesting, this world has been much hotter. I got to share with you guys because you guys are family. And so last night I barely slept, but yet I feel great. And so that's kind of weird, right? I actually feel like supercharged today, but I didn't really sleep. Again, I was up at like 3. I think we went to bed at like 11 or something. So maybe I got 4 hours sleep. And I really didn't get back to sleep, but I got downloads, and it's the only way I could call it. I've had these downloads before. It's a regular thing. They've appeared as different things in the past, and to me, talking to Cindy about this, she's like, boy, it really seems like we are in a matrix. Are we in a computer program? Did I just get a computer program download? Because what I saw was a lot of strange symbols, intense colors. And I've heard people that have done things like mushrooms and different psychedelics talk about colors that have taste to them, almost like you could taste the colors. And now I've never done any of those things. But I have done deep meditation, and that's what it was like. I saw a rainbow come in with the most intense, beautiful colors you can imagine. Just, it felt like the colors were lime and lemon and mango, and it's weird. It was crazy, but it was traveling in a helico. In a helical pattern, like the DNA spiral, and then seeing all sorts of strange, odd alphabet type symbols, not English. I don't even know what they were. It's almost like computer programming language or something. But it was so weird. And then sensing the presence of benevolent beings, and it's just, that's how my night was the whole night. But yet, I woke up this morning feeling like, wow, I feel good. It's so weird. But I do believe we get downloads. I completely believe we get downloads from our higher self, from source, from positive beings, what have you. But this has happened to me many times.
I call it leveling up because I do believe we are in an avatar, and I do believe we get upgrades because that's similar to what happened to me. And, it's like we get reprogrammed, and it just feels like with this situation, it's just something that's going to be coming out for the next 5 years. So that's just what I get a sense of.
Yeah, so some great comments, like Raven says, ruins, yeah, kind of like that. Concrete Angel says, hexagons, alphabet, upside down, left and right. Some of it was very much like that, and it was just coming in. And so when I opened my physical eyes, it seemed to me like the whole room was full of violet light, and that's happened to me in the past before. And as we know, violet's the highest frequency of light. And so intense energies coming in. We've been doing some, distance energy work on my mother, who is actually seeming to be doing a little bit better. And that was not expected at all. And in fact, they might actually let her go home to my sister's, which would be a great thing. And, because my sister was very much, she's very much into allopathic medicine and kind of defeatist in the point of view, like, well, this is it. And, that's where I was trying to send her a video that showed somebody with stage 4 bladder cancer tumor that gets dissolved by QiGong. And it's right there recorded. It just dissolves away in front of your eyes. Even though she's 90, and supposedly it's everywhere, I still don't ever think it's too late if the person has the will. And, it's not necessarily their time, then you can, even at that stage, still, I feel, get better and maybe have another 5 or 10 years of, good health relatively. And especially when people are younger, I think we could reverse these things so much. It's the violet flame, yes.
I know, it's such a beautiful thing. And with this energy work, we both sent her energy, and both times she pulled out of it, and we didn't tell her what we were doing. So that was really interesting how that works. It just seems too much to be a coincidence. And they were going to make her comfortable so she could pass, and that's where she was, and now she's going home. So that is an absolute beautiful story.
Yeah, and again, there are most definitely benevolent beings that are just waiting for us to invite them to help us, and I think we've been taught through our religions to fear benevolent beings, basically. And in many cases, many people view everything as being, devils and demons, even the ones that are helping cure people of, various diseases and actually doing good acts. So I always think you should judge them by their energy and by their acts, what comes forth from it. If acts of love and health and healing come forth, then I don't really think it's something demonic, So, Bill H., good to see you. Good to see you guys here. So we see that people are taken to the streets and demanding change. We need to demand change on an even wider basis than just this. And as we've talked about before, like taking money away from the MIC, taking some of the just incredible amounts that are being spent on killing and actually spend it on something positive, and or just stop the taxation and let people develop their own system and do their own thing. As we see here, as just another case of what we've seen, you got a month's worth of rain in 3 hours. This is what we're talking about. This is what's the new norm now. A month's worth of rain in 3 hours. This is in Brazil. As you see the power line down, you see water everywhere, buildings collapsing. And this is common. This is common. And like what Dr. Enoch Metatron was talking about, maybe there is something to water being liberated by the changes that we have going on here that is held within the earth and is coming out up to the surface. And so, maybe that's part of what we have going on as well.
It could be. There's all kinds of weird stuff going on right now. And I think that, the higher ups, they know what's coming. They know what's going on. And it would be nice to get more of a heads up, but we don't exactly have that. But we do have each other. So that's wonderful.
So Sharon the Third says cloud seeding. Oh, yeah, we know so much that's going on there. And, Tesla, obviously way ahead of his time. Testing out his earthquake machine, it happened in New York City. I think that was back in the 1890s. Pretty interesting stuff. I agree with Mama 48. Things need to be totally revealed. And we have to put an end to the system. The system's trying to put an end to us and an end to all life here. It's really what we see around going on around us.
Well, I kind of think they want they want to keep us barely alive so that we can feed them energy and make money for them.
Yeah, Violet Melon, a lot of things have been twisted. And so, really, I think for anybody that's doing a ton of research into it, you can see that the shamanistic point of view on how the reality is pretty damn accurate. There's all sorts of different layers to our existence and our consciousness, and there are beings on those layers, both malevolent and benevolent. And I think the thing is that the powers that be want us fearing any interaction with any beings other than them and other than the ones that they serve, the ones that control them.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. That's pretty pathetic, but that's what we're looking at, and it's time to face the reality of things. Not be afraid of it, but face the reality of it. And mostly, I think it's important that we just take back our mental health, take back our physical health, and take back our sovereignty altogether.
Most definitely. And so we're looking over here, we see drought. After record spring droughts with raging wildfires, Australia's on the verge of a record hot and dry summer, extending the ongoing crisis, and the Indian Ocean's to blame. Well, it's another one of those oscillations. It's another one of those weather patterns that get hung up. And so, we have a lot of family, EEA family in Australia. As I was saying, we have such a strong presence in Canada and Australia and the UK as well as the US. But our family down in Australia, they are getting hit hard, as here you see the Australian rainfall way below average. You got a lot of them that are lowest on record, hardly anything above average or highest on record. Not a good situation. And talking to Rosemary, she said that, obviously, especially the meats, the prices are going through the roof. And the thought is that there might not be food for even 2 years' time, the way things are going. It's most definitely a case of we need to, all of us, and we Cindy and I too, we need to get things growing. And so that's part of the thing that we're facing. We're going to have to be able to take care of ourselves food-wise.
It's a question too of, is this exactly the right spot? Is this exactly the right time? But I think at some point you just really have to dig in, and you just have to get busy. You can't wait on other people. You can't wait on circumstances. You need to take care of yourself, take personal responsibility for yourself.
Yeah, and Sherry's talking about the earthquake activity ongoing as well. Yeah, OffGrid with Casita, Sprouts. Sprouts they have so much nutrition, and they have more chi than like anything. So as far as food goes, and that's because it's it's sprouting. And if you eat something that's sprouted, it is so good for your body. And it's so quick, such a quick turnaround. Thousands of jellyfish wash up on popular beaches of the Azov Sea, Crimea, after a major storm. Look at all of them. You gotta watch out you don't get stung by those. So we've seen a lot of this. We saw a massive inundation of them in Spain before, and those were the ones that are kind of purplish and smaller. These look like the big ones that we used to get up in Connecticut all the time. And that's a hell of a storm there, and you see all these washed up. We've seen so many strange events. We've seen, cows getting hit by lightning, and we've seen sheep flash frozen. We've seen birds dropping out of the sky and place after place. It's just been incredible. Here out of Strange Sounds, we see 3 earthquakes rattle Missouri, right at the New Madrid seismic zone. Now, these weren't big. These are 2.6 and a couple of 2.0s. And we've had it showing consistent energetic discharge, to put it that way. Is it waking up? Well, the whole planet's waking up. We see that. And while I think of it, let me pull up the USGS and see what we got.
I know. I feel sad for those jellyfish. I was just looking at them laying there, and I know they sting and stuff, but I don't know. I feel sad for everything. So here is USGS, and I always wonder about them. It's like I know that they're government funded, and it just seems like, I don't know, we do a better job. Dutch does a better job at covering stuff because whenever something comes out, they're always downgrading it.
So we see a swarm over in the area we saw before, to the north of Nellis Air Force Base. And interesting, this Warm Springs area, that is an active volcano there. There's a couple active volcanoes on the base itself. And then there's one down in this area as well. It's pretty interesting to see. I think a lot of these that they haven't been active for maybe 10,000 years, because that's the time frame all those really were last active. Well, we're probably back in that time frame now, so sooner or later we're going to be seeing some volcanic activity that's probably going to surprise us.
Which would be quite interesting. I've had a dream about that, but in my dream I wasn't panicked. I was just telling people what to do. And it really wasn't any big deal, even though it did look kind of scary.
Yep, and we see some activity up here in Washington State as well. And as we know, there's a lot of things to watch up here. Mount St. Helens, Mount Hood, Mount Rainier, all those, we're going to see them at some point. Will we see them get active? I would venture to say so. I would think so. We've been talking about timelines. We have a 5.3 over here in Japan. And we see still some activity going on. We have a 5.0 in Iran and Albania 4.6. And let's jump to CSEM. And what do we got over there? 3.2 over in southern Quebec. I wonder if any of our guys up there have felt it. If you're still in the house, Sylvan, did you feel this? Curious. And look at this one. 3.5 North Atlantic. Don't usually see them this close over in here, so that's kind of odd. You will see them out here, 4.9 right along the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. And 3.6 on the Azores. This is over by the Straits of Gibraltar, 3.3. And tons of activity in Greece and Albania. Look at that. I mean, that is still just rattling off with all those aftershocks. Okay. Bopped me all the way over here now. That was weird. But yeah, tons of aftershocks ongoing.
Yeah, I like to keep an eye on the earthquakes and stuff. The ones that worry me the most are when they start showing up in places they shouldn't, because that's always one of those things in the Bible where the earth is going to shake where it really shouldn't. Or was that in Nostradamus? I don't remember, but I do remember that earthquakes will happen where they normally don't. And that was one of the signs of the end times. So that's why I like to keep an eye on those buggers.
Okay, so Sylvain says that it's been consistent and strong, but he was probably sleeping during that one, but it's strong all over. And Raven says the Atlantic is offshore volcanoes. Yeah, I would not doubt it. I remember talking about a super volcano possibly forming in the Gulf of Mexico a while back. So can you believe people are going down to Antarctica and swimming with the penguins? Does that look like water do you want to go jumping into? Not for me. But yeah, they're talking about tourism because tourism is something that's growing down in Antarctica, and it's so basically raw and unexplored, at least by civilization, and bringing us, to the masses, what is really down there. There's definitely been a lot of military activity down there, a lot of top secret hidden stuff going on down there. And then, of course, if we listen to people like Admiral Byrd, perhaps there's inner Earth entrances as well down there. Antarctica, most definitely a fascinating place. So, Thanksgiving Day Massacre, Facebook and Instagram experience major outage across the U.S. And so, now you actually have to talk to your family. As you can see, the areas where these outages occurred. And, there's a big part of me that wants to dump my Facebook. It's a connection to so many people that I wouldn't really have otherwise. I hope there's good alternatives that come up because, it's part of the machine. And, I'm banned from doing anything with groups until February 20th of 2020. That's the type of thing they do on a regular basis. I had a previous Facebook account with with a business page for Evolutionary Energy Arts with over 1,000 positive recommendations, and they just shut it down and closed it out, and I lost all my recommendations. That's the type of thing they do. And I know, the only reason I'm on there is because of the ability to connect with others. And I know I could just use the messenger aspect and get rid of the page, but then there's so many groups where we're trying to share info in. But Cindy and I get banned constantly because, it's the machine and they are the machine.
Yeah, so after a while, it just, you go and you go and you go and you push and you push and you push and you're just like, ugh, what's the point? Because they're going to ban you anyway. But then, I usually find another way to share to get the word out. I don't know. It's a catch-22. You kind of screwed if you do, you screwed if you don't. So I don't know. Right now, it's just about riding the wave and trying to get information out.
Yeah, and so it's just sad, but it is what it is. And more people are waking up to this fact, and there needs to be alternatives. And just as we were talking about alternatives to all sorts of things that are being, shall we say, censored, we need to develop alternatives. And there are some that are coming up. And, we'll keep working in that direction. And here we see the 4th case of bubonic plague confirmed in China. Now, it does happen. It happens here in the U.S. too, and often it's in the desert areas that you find it. But something to keep an eye on, because it feels like, a lot of times it feels like we're waiting for the other shoe to drop, so to speak. And so this is what we're talking about. Not enough babies are being born to replace the U.S. population as the birth rate plunges to a 30-year low. So growing up forever, we were always talking about the ever-growing, ever-expanding population. Now, certain more what we would call third world countries, the birth rates are still very high. But in the industrialized countries, in the U.S. and, in Europe and Japan, birth rates are plummeting. They're just plunging straight on down. And the population now, you're starting to see stats that are showing that, by 2100, there might not be as many people here as there are here now. And of course, a lot of us look at certain things like Deagle and wonder, well, okay, what's it going to look like in 2025 according to the numbers that they're throwing out there. But anyway, we look at it, things are changing, and apparently we're heading in the opposite direction. And the birth rates are at a 30-year low, and sperm rates are just, they've just dropped off a cliff. And so, that is something else going on there. So a lot of people are choosing to just not have kids, have kids later in life, have less kids. People are working more. That's one of the obvious things, in most families now. I mean, it's been the case where most people are working full time. Yet I do think more and more people are dropping out of the system as well. I know that for a fact. I see so many people that, I've seen so many people that have had their houses, boom, put them up for sale, buy an RV, buy a tiny house. They are out of the system. They're not working anymore. They're living off of whatever they made on those type of things. They're adjusting their way of life. So they're being more frugal, and, they're changing their ways because they don't want to be in the system. And Jay Griffin says, yep, I refuse to breed. And I've heard that from a lot of younger people, that they recognize that they don't maybe want to bring kids into the system. And, it's true. And then also, I love that, Calamity says systematically leaving the system. That's beautiful. I love that. That sounds great. Because that's what we need to do. We do need to do that. And I see Brother Keith is in the house. And much love to Keith Brooks. He's another great guy. And Keith took a little break from the social media, which is good to do, and he has 7 children. And he also is off-grid. And so, Keith is in the Ozarks, and he's off-grid. And at one point, he was willing for, good people to come and join him as well. I know Sherry's in Pennsylvania, Sherry McKinsky, and, she was looking for people to come and join her. And then I have another friend in North Carolina mountains in the Asheville area. Her name is Cher. And she's basically by herself pretty much now. And she has a farm, so she has property. And again, she would be willing to have people that wanted to come join and work, come into a community. And many people have asked me before about that, and I've expressed that desire with the right place at the right time. I think Cindy and I might always be a little bit nomadic, but it would be cool to have set up a community. And be there and then take off, and then be there and then take off as needed, or set up a series of communities. It would be beautiful, if you want to dream big. Set up a series of communities that could actually work together, even if they weren't necessarily local. Now that sounds like something that could really get us in trouble with the powers that be, because they would not want that.
No, they wouldn't. Anything that would bring power back to the people, they wouldn't want that at all. And I think that would do some damage to them. Well, with this channel here, it's being censored because we are doing damage. We are, helping you guys, all of us, gather, even if we're not like in the same general 3D locale. That doesn't matter. We're giving each other power, over their weaponry. So we're sort of kind of using this against them in a way, and we'll use it as long as we can.
You guys have heard of Ubuntu, right? Ubuntu is a system made by Michael Tellinger where it's contributionism. So everybody just does what they're good at. If you're good at music, then you come and serenade people. If you have a strong back, then maybe it's helping to plant and things like that, or help to build. And if you're a healer, maybe it's helping people heal. Can you imagine if we did, like, say if we had different centers, and this is just like hitting me, people like Sherry and PA, right, connected to Cher in Asheville, connected to Keith in Missouri, connected to whatever there was out here in Nevada and Arizona and California. And what if, we actually got these communities to the point where they're growing decent amount of food, because you're spaced out into different areas, so you'd have different crops coming in at different times, and using your skills, maybe bartered and traded with each other to try to get out of the system as much as possible. And perhaps a lot of us would be people that would have RVs, vans, travel trailers, and be able to float and migrate from one center to another, and have there be like an open door policy where you could just kind of come in. It's part of a bigger group, part of a bigger structure. Yeah, each one independent of the other, but all of them just working together to see how we could sustain ourselves outside of this matrix, outside of this system. That would really be pretty cool. Maybe that's something that could come about in time.
Yeah, I think that's something that's doable. Mostly helping people take back their power, and knowing what you're made of, and knowing what you can do. And, and it's not going to be easy, and, and there's going to be mistakes made and whatnot. But, it's just something that, I don't know. I guess my power was taken away so much at one point in my life from doctors and people who really truly meant well. They didn't realize the damage that they were doing. And I respected these people. I respected these doctors. I thought I had to take all my medicine exactly like they said because they were the quote professionals, unquote. And what did I know? And it turns out that I know a heck of a lot more than I thought I did. If I'd have followed my intuition the entire time, I would have been okay. But I was surrounded by people who were asleep. So I think in a subconscious kind of way, I like to help wake people up because that helps keep me safe. It helps keep my children safe. If people are a little more knowledgeable about what they can and can't do on a personal level.
So many comments here that are great. So Power Vapor Supplies says you're welcome to come stay in Clearwater. In my mind, I'm kind of thinking about heading to Florida in February. If Cindy's okay with it and if things work out okay, it would be a nice thing to do maybe. And spending some time there and then in the Carolinas as well, maybe into March and April. For a little while, like a month or so, a month or two, if possible. We'll see how it goes. Where was that other? Anastasia. Okay, so Lawrence of Aragorn says, ever hear of Anastasia of the Ringing Cedars? You describe what they're doing. No, but I got to make a mental note of that and check it out. I do think that this is part of it. This might be a big part of everything that we're supposed to do. We got to get ourselves independent. And I know somebody in there had said that they don't like off-gridders because of taxes. And you're right. Taxes. And it's even more than the taxes, it's control. Because they lose the ability to control us when we're not really in the system. The Ozarks supposed to be one of the safe zones. The Appalachians supposed to be a safe zone, and then the Four Corners area as well. And money does feel dirty. And wind power works on RV too. Good point, Raven. Good point. Florida is going to be cold too. Yeah, not as cold, but yeah, the outlook is it's going to go through a pretty cold period right now too. But I was looking at the 10-day down in Fort Myers, and it was all still in the 80s. And then I think one day it was abnormal. It was like 64 for a high, and like 54 for a low. And I told Cindy, I said, that doesn't usually ever happen down there. So, yeah, heavy snow in the Four Corners, but definitely feels safe. Concrete Angel says, reminds me of might is right. And, my first martial arts school that I ever went to, that was the slogan, might for right. And so that was Master Ree, was a really nice gentleman, although some of his teachers just brutalized me, but that was part of growing up. And as I shared with Cindy, it made it so my shins had no more nerve endings in them, so I could not be hurt with leg kicks. But that's going back to childhood. So this is scary stuff, and you're seeing more and more of this stuff. Cyborg super soldiers. U.S. Army report reveals vision for deadly machine humans with infrared sight, boosted strength, and mind control weapons by 2050. And if they're saying that, it's already here. We know. Enhancements could be made to soldiers' eyes, ears, brain, and muscular system, as well as creating better fighters. This could improve their chances of survival. Study predicts these enhancements will be widely available by 2050. U.S. Army Combat Capabilities Development Command created the study. And, scary scenario, I think by 2050, it'll be just cyborgs. Yeah, it won't even be humans so much that are enhanced, although that I think is happening as well. I think it's already going on. I think we know people are taking chips on purpose. They're doing it for jobs. And to me, that just feels absolutely insane. Do you guys ever see Cloud Atlas? If you guys haven't watched the movie Cloud Atlas, check it out. There's a society there that's very, very much what we don't want to see in that movie, but that this is pointing towards this is just, I hate to see this stuff. They also suggest a future soldier could have a neural device that optimizes brain power, allow them to control weapons with their mind. The thought experiment involved dozens of scientists, military personnel, and others as well. There is a real dark world that's being envisioned here. And, I just don't think the majority of the population really likes this idea, but there's these sick, twisted minds that, they have this vision that they're trying to impose on us.
Yeah, they are, and to an extent they will, but we all create our own reality. We can create our own surroundings, and that's something that I've been taught from a very young age. So, if you don't want to be controlled, I think it's important to take back your power, get healthy, eat right. These are things that we can do. We can think for ourselves. We can study. We can research. We can love. We can bond. And those are a lot of things that are going to be necessary to be sovereign and be free. These people, they're going to do what they're going to do. So, it's going to be our job to do what we need to do. And, one thing for me is, I think plant medicine is really, really important, whether it be CBD, whether it be hemp, whether it be whatever, if it's a plant, our body has receptors for it. And they've created a lot of medications that go into our body. They're foreign to our body and can create so many problems. And Michael did a video on that yesterday about CBD and Xanax, and how Xanax, can cause death and everything. And then the FDA is taking CBD, and they're putting warnings on it. They're telling manufacturers to stop selling it. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, we have to be careful what we talk about here, too.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, and so that's where we put that on the not YouTube platform, just because of the whole censorship thing. So, yeah, I put 2 videos up over on Patreon that were talking about that and other stuff. That's just very disconcerting. So we were talking about martial arts and stuff before. Check this out. Tyranny alert. Virginia to outlaw Krav Maga, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, kickboxing, Tai Chi, firearms instruction, and self-defense training under a new proposed law, SB 64. Can you believe that? I've taken like 4 different martial arts, and it was a big part of growing up for me, and then also just staying healthy as an adult. And definitely changed my life by bringing like a different level of discipline in, and mental control, and to not allow us to do things like that is just crazy. And Lauren says Tai Chi isn't really a martial art. It can be, it was intended for it. There really is self-defense application there, but it's also all about health too, and moving the chi, and also getting us out of the fight or flight side of the system. But this just blows my mind that they're going to this level now. I mean, obviously in the UK, you don't have a lot of guns. The US has a lot of guns. There's more guns than people in the US. But to make it illegal to learn self-defense, and, basically there's sports as well as self-defense training, and they're also ways, they're exercise, they're just healthy. And this is mind-blowing, really, to see this. And there's so many states now that they may be beautiful. If you drive through Virginia and you're not in DC, it's a beautiful state. It really is. Just same thing. I haven't been up to Washington and Oregon yet, but they look gorgeous, and I can't wait to see them. And I've seen some areas in California that are just so naturally beautiful. But when you see the laws and the way things are run in certain states, then it's like, I don't know about living there. because some of the laws are just so big brother that it's just mind-blowing. This law would instantly transform all martial arts instructors into criminal felons. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, there's so many people that make their lives too teaching people self-defense. Where are we going with this? Where are we going with this? And so this is the full text of the proposed law right here. And this is out of Natural News. This is Mike Adams. And so, as you know, he started Brightian because of not being able to operate in this venue anymore. And so that, again, is another alternative site. It's just crazy. It's just crazy what's happening here. It's so disconcerting. And here we have 47 survival uses for duct tape. We won't go through them all, but duct tape is something you should make sure you have in your bug out bag or just stocked away, because there are tons of things to do with it, including you could build a shelter with it, create a pandemic seal, fix a screen, mosquito netting, fix a cracked water bottle on if you had to. We just don't know what we're going to be faced with in the future. Fix broken poles, fix your clothes, gloves, hold your pants up, fix your shoes. Hold your pants up after we've lost so much weight because there's no more food going around. Fix your shoes, make some shoes, keep your feet warm, keep things out of your boots. It goes on and on and on. So there's 47 uses there for duct tape. And this is interesting. Dream study reveals nightmares help us prepare for real anxiety-provoking situations. And still, the mainstream doesn't view dreams as being real. They don't view it as if you're just simply in a different state of being, but yet, having real experiences. But that gets into the what is real.
Reality is kind of, I guess it's subjective perspective to every single one of us, and I don't know, I guess. So in theory, there is no reality. There is only perspective, but I know if that's the truth, then maybe my body and brain has helped me get ready for a whole lot of weirdness that's going to come up in my life, but I hope not. My nightmares, they are getting better. They're not as severe, and that's nice.
Yeah, so it's pretty interesting, but basically the study is saying that, nightmares are no fun, but a new international study finds that all nighttime fear may actually be serving a greater purpose. Researchers from both Switzerland and U.S. identified the areas of the brain that were activated while a group of participants experienced fear in their dreams. Interestingly, they discovered that after the participants woke up, those same emotion-regulating brain areas responded to scary situations much more efficiently. So, perhaps it's like a learning curve there and prepping us for whatever we might have to face. And it's so good to face your fears. I've told you guys before that I have a little bit of a fear of heights, but it's not really heights. It's more open spaces. I realized that when I was up in the mountains above Santa Fe, because we were up like 13,000 feet, and I could look over the side of a cliff and not have too much anxiety if there was trees all around me. But yet, when I went to these 3 volcanoes over by Albuquerque, and they were just wide open, there was no trees, no nothing. They were not even close to as high as that. They were, really big hills. I started to get this anxiety, and it comes in here a lot of times too. And I think it's more of a fear of open spaces. And I'm not sure if it has to do with past life things, maybe a bomb hit me from, I don't know, but sometimes we have these fears that we don't really understand. So one of the best things to do, which we do now, is, we just go and we climb bigger hills and we just try to get to the very top. And I do my best to, handle looking out from up top, where there's no coverage and everything, and we're just wide out there open, and we're doing steeper ones all the time, and it's good for pushing the envelope, and it's kind of fun to overcome.
He is an envelope pusher, you guys.
Yeah, I like that. Tend to go to some extremes a little bit. So animal embryos evolved before animals. Animals evolved from a single cell ancestors before diversifying into 30 or 40 distinct anatomical designs. When and how animal ancestors made the transition from single-celled microbes to complex multicellular organisms has been the focus of intense debate. And so until now, this question could only be addressed by studying living animals and their relatives, but now the research team has found evidence that a key step in this major evolutionary transition occurred long before complex animals appear in the fossil record, and the fossilized embryos that resemble multicellular stages in the life cycle of single-celled relatives of animals. And so, this has been done analyzing 609 million-year-old rocks. At least they say that. Although a lot of people have serious doubts about how do you, date things like that. And just everything that we've been taught, it seems, it's either they didn't know what they were talking about, or they're covering up things, or a combination of the two, because things are constantly getting rewritten. It is fascinating to look at a human embryo, for instance, and see how it develops through time. And as we know, we have a reptilian brain. We have a part of our brain that is reptilian. So, do we thank the Draco for that, or the Nagas? Is it, as they say, is it left over from the stage when we were, basically reptilian? We were basically crawling on all fours and coming out of the water and becoming more amphibian. Everybody has their own takes on this. And honestly, the bottom line is none of us really know.
So this is probably a really stupid question, but are we the only species that have that reptilian and mammal brain?
I'm not sure if it's in monkeys or not. That would be a great thing to look up and see. Because if it's not, that's Lady Montfort L says the present day Arab elites are the Anunnaki. There's a lot to get into with all that as well. There's so much that's hidden from us. Yeah, I know. Raven's turning pale just talking about the R word. So it's fascinating because that's the bottom line. We just don't know. Now, if you guys drank too much yesterday because it was Thanksgiving and all, you could take a break from alcohol and switch to these 3 liver detoxifying drinks. And there's recipes here. A little alcohol is not usually bad for us. It could relax us. If we look at the studies done out of blue zones, it actually showed the people that lived the longest did have happy hours, and they drank 1 or 2 glasses of wine on a typical basis. Obviously, abusing anything is not good. And our liver is most definitely under stress because the world is so toxic. So we need to constantly be cleansing ourselves. And Soul Reviver, thank you so much for introducing us to coffee enemas, because that has worked wonders.
I do. This is going to sound horrible, but I love a coffee enema because the coffee buzz is better than drinking it. I know that sounds awful, you guys, but it's true. You guys should try it, but be really, really careful. You want organic coffee, use distilled water.
Yeah, and it does. It leaves you in this state of kind of like the best coffee buzz you've ever had, and it just hangs around for a long period of time. And so this one recipe includes fresh ginger, grapefruit or orange, lemon, 1 to 2 garlic cloves, 1 to 2 tablespoons of olive oil, 1 to 2 teaspoons of flax seeds, and a little bit of cayenne pepper. And so, we usually have all that in the house. Though we go shopping every 7 to 10 days, and I think we are probably going to be pushing it to 2 weeks this time. So that's one of the downsides on living 73 miles away from the grocery store, is you just don't run out to the grocery store at any time. So there's another one here, which consists of half a cucumber, half a cup of parsley, 1 green apple, and 2 to 3 celery stalks. That's one that I've done on a regular basis in the past as well. And then another one which has fennel, fenugreek, flax seeds, peppermint leaf, licorice root, and 4 to 5 slices of ginger as well. And so some liver healthy foods, broccoli sprouts, garlic, walnuts. And all these things are things that we usually have in-house all the time. So yeah, we need to be constantly detoxing in this world, most definitely.
Yeah, I know. I got some cute comments in there about the coffee. Raven says, my coffee in mass takes the normal route. Yep. And Keith said, I ain't putting anything up there. I don't know. I said I would never do that either. But then I guess curiosity got me. And now I'm hooked. I do appreciate that buzz.
And I know Dave Lewis had said the same thing. He's like, many people think that, I eat right and I don't need to. And Bill H. also, not about to start enemas. I thought that way too. But, after I probably did 20 or 25 of them in the last 3 months, something like that. And you know what? It really did do wonders. And it took a while to do wonders. Because at first it wasn't really... No, we don't add cream and sugar. yeah, that's... but you know what it does too is it cleanses the bile and
it does. It opens up certain ducts in there, and it's great for the liver and everything to open up those ducts and release that bile that's been sitting there for a long time. So it's a good way to cleanse.
Most definitely. And, like I was saying, it's like I notice a huge difference now. So now we maybe do one every 2 weeks, something like that. But, it's been a huge difference. I think it's helped tremendously. Just like with fasting, where if you do some fasting, you could really do wonders for allowing your body time to heal. And so, Raven talks about lowering the GI, prevents the clogging of the system. Yeah, and then you just want to make sure that you are taking in good probiotics, as well. Keith has Crohn's. Self-flush regularly. There's also a saltwater flush which can be done as well. And there's a lot to do with Crohn's as well, disease, and I'll talk to you about that as well, brother. So yeah, most definitely, there's a lot of things we can do. Don't try liquor enemas; it doesn't work out too well.
We'll take your word for it. Thank you.
And yeah, and we were doing the diatomaceous earth with bentonite clay for months before we really started the enemas. Wheatgrass enemas as well. Yeah, it's like I discovered all this a long time ago, and I never did the enema thing because I had the same mindset. Ain't nothing going up there. Hell no. No. I'll do my fasting. I'll do different things. I'll do other ways of cleansing, and I avoid it at all costs. But after doing it, I could say that it did help tremendously. I think it's done a really amazing job. So, as always, my friends, I want to thank you guys for your support. Thanks for showing up and being part of our family. Anybody that's interested in joining us on Patreon, we appreciate it. And for even just $1 a month, you can help support the channel and see some of the videos that don't go up over here, or Ko-Fi, which is a one-time support. Make sure you are subscribed and click the bell to the second channel, EE Arts. And as always, my friends, we look forward to seeing you guys again. So we'll see you guys tomorrow, unless something major happens, and then we'll jump on and come live again. We love you guys, and thanks so much for being part of this family.
Thanks for being here, you guys. Really, really appreciate you guys a ton.
So God bless and namaste.
God bless and namaste.